Hi guys, it's about 5:40 East and 4:40 Central on this Sunday, August 19, 2012. I'm Stephen Boyle. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at the weather across the country here. If you want to look at what's going on in the tropics, check out my other video that I made today. I talk about a possibility that a storm could either hit it's one system, and this one system could either affect the Gulf Coast or the East Coast. Which one at this point, I'm not too certain. I give you much more information on the tropical on that video. So it was a gorgeous morning here in New England this morning. I mean, it was beautiful. If you do live in New England and you live up north, I would like to hear how cool it was this morning. I mean, here it was about 48 to 51, somewhere in that region. I imagine up north it was at least 45, if not maybe even into the lower 40s, maybe even upper 30s. I wouldn't be surprised to hear some of that. So if you live in northern New England, give me your temperatures here. I'd like to hear about them. See how cool it was. And actually, I didn't mention that over I think it was the middle part of the last week, this same exact air mass that we have over New England at this time right now, it caused some record cold temperatures into portions of the Midwest. Not a widespread region, but there were records that were broken. Northeast Iowa did see some records that were broken. I believe, don't quote me on this, portions of one of the Dakotas, I believe, saw a record broken. I believe maybe Kansas. I remember seeing Kansas for some reason. I mean, even to see fairly cool conditions, not even record, is a big turnaround from last month. We were in the hundreds in this region. Now, to see records being broken on the other side of the coin is a major turnaround here. And we are seeing monsoonal rains into the southwest. And monsoon season, if you don't know, starts in mid-July and runs through about mid to late September. So right now we're definitely in the heart of monsoon season. So, that's what's going on down here. Generally your normal type stuff into this region. But if once you're away from the desert southwest, you get into some very dry conditions into portions of central Idaho, portions of Montana, and Oregon. Also, there are a few areas of Utah that are seeing red flag warnings at this particular time as well. Also, there's a big line of rain into the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just a wall of rain in the Gulf. You'll see it in just a minute when I turn into the high resolution. These are the monsoonal rains. If you are caught under one of the monsoonal rains, heavy rain, which is why there is a few scattered flash flood watches and warnings and things like this. This is the wall of rain that I'm talking about. Look at it. It is really a lot of rain. And this is overall going to move in this general direction towards the north and east. However, you're like, well, then it's going to affect New England. And then you see this and you're like, oh my goodness, New England is just going to get pounded with rain. Well, see, here's the situation. Our track, the storm track, hasn't exactly set itself out yet. It's still a little bit. Right now, the storm track is something more along the lines like this. But as the season progresses and as we start getting even more cooler air, and once we really start getting once we start getting things fired up here, we'll have what we call a little bit more of a negative tilt to it, and you will have storms that will ride up like this instead of more it's still negative, but it's not. It's not a deep negative that we would want to see with storms just riding up and causing rain, or at this point it would be just rain, but causing a nor'easter at this particular time, we would want to see it move up something like that. It's not going to, but it will eventually. And you can already see how active the the southern track of the storms, how the storms are really already starting to get itself fired up here. So the track is already active. It's going to take a little time for it to adjust itself. And I believe that will eventually happen through time. All right, here's the NAM model. We're going to take a check on what's going on there. You can see that, portions of the Cape may see a scattered shower. And then there's that other low there that starts moving off into the central Atlantic. Well, portions of the Atlantic. That's the NAM model. Then we take a check on the Canadian. And then this has it going a little bit more to the east. Could it? Yeah, it could, but at this particular time, we'll just have to see what happens with that. And then you see this area of low pressure that moves out, and then you see these other couple areas of low pressure. Now, once you start getting lows forming in here, that's when you start looking at the possibility that it could move up more like that. But it still could move something like this. But we'll have to see how things move through time. And then that moves like this, and look at the rain that forms into portions of the Memphis area. Now here's the GFS, and there's that area of low pressure, maybe a couple more areas of low pressure, and then we get this little area of low pressure right in here that forms in the central portions of the country. That will eventually affect portions of New England with some rain. Then look at down here. We have this massive area of low pressure. This is what could be Isaac. At this particular point, though, this is only one of the GFS ensembles. There are many other GFS ensembles that I look at in determining the forecast for the storm. So at this particular point, this particular model is saying that this thing is going to go hit in the Gulf of Mexico, which is, like I said, a possibility. And then it turns north and east and moves into portions of Virginia and dumps almost 5 inches of rain there. And I do believe eventually this will probably turn in a direction like this, and maybe could affect portions of Massachusetts with some pretty heavy rain. But we'll have to watch and generally see the trend. I mean, if it moves up the East Coast, well then guess what? We're going to be in for more of a threat here. So there's still a lot to look at before I can say this is going to happen or no, this is not going to happen. Like I said, there's a lot to look at, and there's still time for things to update. So that's what's going on across the country here. I hope you all have a really good rest of your Sunday, and we'll be back tomorrow with another update. Take care, everyone.